Hashem speaks to Moshe, tells him that my plan to save the Jewish people, not as you understood, when Paro hardened his, when Paro did not listen to you, when you approached him to let the people go, and he made it even harder on them, it was to bring the Gula quicker, the Bnei Israel, to bring the time for the salvation quicker. The Pasuk says like this, וגם הקימותי את בריתי אתה איתם לתת להם את ארץ כנען, את ארץ מגוריהם אשר גרו בה. I'm fulfilling, even though I haven't fulfilled it with the Avot, but now I'm going to fulfill it with this generation and bring them out of Egypt to fulfill the covenant I made with the Avot, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Pasuk goes on, וגם אני שמעתי את נאקת בני ישראל, אשר מצרים מעבידים אותם, ואזכור את בריתי. But what has stirred me to bring the salvation now, to bring the Geula now, גם שמעתי, I also heard the cry of the Jewish people because of the severity of the servitude and how they were afflicting them, and I'm coming now to save them. There's a very interesting question. Why does it say Gam Ani Shamati? Gam always means, and me too, something more. So who else heard? The Jewish people have cried out, and Hashem heard there. And that's what he wanted to save them and to fulfill the Berit, the covenant with the Avot. What is it with Gam Ani Shamati? What's the Gam? Gam always adds on something more. So this is attributed to many Gedolim, to Reb Chaim Shmulevich, but even before that, some say the Briskerov. The Gam is, that the Jewish, I also heard, but the Jewish people also heard each other. A Jew would come along, he had a hard day, he'd been abused by the Egyptian enslaved, and he'd been beaten, and he'd come and complain to another Jew, come along and say, I had such a hard day, it was so bad. Now the other Jew also had his problem. The Egyptian was severe with him as well, and they were treated so badly. He had his problems. But you know what? He didn't tell him, leave me alone. I've got my own problems. I'm also have it. He listened to his brother. He listened to his fellow Jew. He listened to him. And since he listened to him, that was an attribute which stirred the Kodesh Baruch Hu to do it now. Gam Ani Shamati. Besides the Jews hearing each other's troubles and trying to alleviate that. When you hear someone's sarot, you give him a ear, you make him feel better. But they didn't think, because I've still got the same problem and I'm being abused and I'm having that trouble. Leave me alone. They didn't say that. They cared for each other and listened to each other. Gam Ani Shamati, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, that made me hear the cry as well. If you can hear someone else crying and you can hear his sarot, even if you got your own, yes, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears you as well. And I'll give you a very interesting story. Yes, there was once a man had two sons, and one of the sons became very wealthy, big director, big business. He became great. The younger and the other son, he was learning, and he had a lot of children, and he had very hard, very difficult. He wanted to marry off his child. So he said, maybe I should turn to my brother for some help. He's very wealthy. He goes and tries to get an appointment with his brother. He managed to go up to the secretary and he tells her, I'd like to speak to my brother. Yes. So the secretary goes and tells, your brother's here. But that man was in the middle of a big deal. Was in the middle of this. He says, my brother, no, I can't see him now. Can't see him. Right? He went disheartened. Hashem helped him. The father heard about it. And the father, when he was passing away, the younger brother came to him and he was with him and he accepted him and he gave him brachot and he tried his best for him. The older brother heard about it and he came, the one who was very rich, and he came along to his father and he tells them, I want to go in. There was someone standing there. He said, no. He went to the father and he said, your son is here, so-and-so. He gave the name, your son is here. So the father said, I have no son, that's not my son. So he came back and he told the son, no, he came rushing, he said, but father, you are my father. What do you mean you don't want to see me? The father said, if he is not your brother, yes, the brother which he refused to see, then I am not your father. If we can't feel for each other, and we don't feel this is my brother, then Hashem doesn't feel he's our father. Gamani Shamati. When you hear each other and trying to help each other, then I will help you as well. Shabbat Shalom.